So have you ever been 100% certain about something only to find out that it never happened? I feel like they're out here rewriting history, like, or changing our simulation. We about to check out some more of these Mandela effect videos and mysteries. Let's go.
The Mandela effect, a strange phenomenon where large groups of people share a false memory, has seen an increase in cases over the past few years, leaving many people at a loss as to how they could misremember certain events from the past. Unwilling to accept that they have faulty memories, some people believe that the past has been changed somehow, or that they now live in a reality other than their own.
Y'all heard that? You see how they try to put it on us? We all of a sudden now have faulty memories. Yeah, they got some nerve.
Number 10. Mickey Mouse will forever be one of the most iconic children's television icons of all time. When he made his first appearance in 1928, though, his name was Steamboat Willie, a black and white dancing mouse that would eventually become Mickey, a household name in most houses. But despite his name and undeniable recognizability, he's now the subject of a Mandela effect mystery, as thousands of people remember him doing something in the cartoon that they claim is now suddenly missing, leading them to believe that the cartoon has been changed forever. It all has to do with his outfit. Conspiracy theorists believe that Willie was wearing suspenders when he first appeared, but have noticed that now they're suspiciously missing, and they're struggling to come to terms with it. Furthermore, they claim to remember Willie snapping his suspenders during the short cartoon, and upon rewatching it, they're unable to find the part where he does this. This has led to much speculation online, with people wondering why this was removed from the cartoon and when it was done. Furthermore, they're adamant that his next iteration, Mickey Mouse, has always had suspenders, but have now noticed that he no longer has them either. Some theorists have spent hours of their time looking for proof that Mickey used to don the clothing item, but have come up short with every effort. Many people who—
I ain't gonna lie, they stumped me on this one. Even I don't go back far to 1920 to 30s anyway. I would have to ask my grandma. She was born in the 30s. So, but I doubt she would remember that. I don't know. It's worth a try though, but y'all stumped me on this one because I have not the clue. But I want to say I might have seen something, but I'm not 100% sure. So, yeah, y'all might have got me on this one.
Who are following the discussion feel that these theorists are simply mistaken and that Mickey has never worn suspenders in the first place, and they've offered a possible explanation for this misconception. Mickey's red shorts have two white circles on the front that could easily be interpreted as being buttons. They're situated in the perfect spot to button suspenders, and hence it's possible that people expect him to be wearing them when he never has. One man who's taken a vested interest in the Mandela effect, and who has uploaded as many as 125 videos on the subject to YouTube, states that he clearly remembers Mickey wearing suspenders, but he claims to have spotted yet another inconsistency. He also remembers Mickey having a tail, which is understandable since he's a mouse after all. But the reality is that he never had one, and has never held his shorts up with the use of suspenders. Another user added that they remember him having a tail in some cartoons, while it was strangely absent in others. But the hundreds of thousands of searches conducted since this Mandela effect mystery was brought to light have failed to produce any footage or images of Mickey with a tail or suspenders. Though some fakes have been created in an effort to fool people. One person who used to work in the costume department at Disneyland revealed that Mickey sometimes wore suspenders, but never with his iconic outfit. He would only don them with certain outfits, such as his work clothes, when he was portraying a construction worker. They also believe the design choice to omit suspenders was made to keep Mickey's image as simple as possible, and that suspenders would have made his image look a little too busy. But not everyone is convinced. A lot of people are certain that Mickey's tail and suspenders have either been edited out of every single image of him that ever existed, or that there's been some kind of reality shift that's left us all fooled. But the experts have reiterated that Mickey has no tail, no suspenders, and never has and never will.
I don't know. I feel like there's somebody in this country or around the world that didn't get rid of their old VHS tapes and different things like that had those Disney shows or movies or whatever that had some Mickey stuff on. I feel like there's somebody sitting around right now who could put an end and debunk all the rumors and mysteries about that Mandela effect, or any of them for that matter. I feel like it's somebody, because you can go back to those old VHSs and show what they're talking about. I know it's somebody out there, man, but for the most part, most of us, when we got older, our parents threw that stuff away.
Number 9. The Mandela effect has a strange way of creeping into parts of history where one would never expect to find it, and can even have an effect on normal gestures that we use every day, such as giving someone a thumbs up. While most of us understand that a thumbs up means you've done a good job, that things are ready to go, or that you're correct, it doesn't have the same meaning around the world, and in some countries it can be seen as somewhat controversial. Giving someone a thumbs up sign in countries like Afghanistan and Iraq could easily result in an argument or altercation, since it is pretty much the opposite meaning there and can be compared to someone flipping the bird in other parts of the world. There's also the misconception that it originated in Rome, when gladiators used to fight others in the Colosseum. For a long time, people have been under the impression that when a gladiator has defeated his opponent, he would look up at the emperor and either wait for a thumbs up or thumbs down signal, the former meaning that their opponent's life would be spared, while the latter meant that it would be ended. And this is where the Mandela effect comes in. When people find out that these gestures meant something entirely different, they find it hard to believe and suggest that the meaning has been changed in recent times. Historians have explained that a gladiator would indeed wait for the emperor to make a decision as to the fate of their opponent, but when his life was to be spared, he would simply raise his fist, with his thumb hidden in his palm. This represented a sheathed sword, and the gladiator would be permitted to live to fight another day. This was known as pollice compresso, or compressed thumb. If the emperor held his hand in a thumbs up gesture, the defeated gladiator's days were numbered and their life was ended. The gesture represented an unsheathed sword, and was usually met with a roar from the attending crowd, who would relish witnessing these battles. It's believed that the more modern meaning of a thumbs up originated during the Second World War, when pilots had trouble hearing each other over the roar of their plane engines and needed a non-verbal way of communicating. As for the misconception, it likely started due to a painting created in 1873. This painting shows a gladiator standing over his defeated opponent while looking up at the emperor, who's giving a thumbs down gesture. He erroneously titled the piece Pollice Verso, intending to mean thumbs down, when it actually meant turned thumb. And as a result, many people have wrongly believed that a thumbs down was a sign of execution, when it really meant the exact opposite. But as is always the case with any good conspiracy theory, many people refuse to believe that this has always been the case.
Nah, I actually believe this one. This one makes complete and total, this makes so much sense to me. You know what I mean? I've never been into those type of movies to be like, yeah, they do that. I watched it on several movies and they do that type of stuff like that. I ain't never been into those type movies, but I can 1000% see that being the case back then, and we just kind of made it our own to what it is today. You know what I mean? Just changed the meaning of it to lighten it up so it didn't have a negative connotation attached to it.
And are adamant that the history books have been altered, though why this would be done remains a mystery, since the gesture certainly doesn't carry the weight that it did in ancient Roman times. Number 8. Weird Al Yankovic has been creating funny covers of popular songs for decades. His first album, entitled Weird Al Yankovic, was released on the 3rd of May 1983, and included the songs I Love Rocky Road, Stop Dragging My Car Around, and Another One Rides the Bus. Since then, he's become a beloved act in the music scene and continues to elicit laughter from his fans with each new release. But he's also being discussed on online forums for a different reason in recent times, namely the Mandela effect. It's thought that the mystery came about thanks to a post that was made to Facebook in March of 2021, when someone thought that it would be a good idea to perpetuate the hoax that Weird Al had passed away. The post clearly fooled a lot of people, as it was quickly viewed over 1 million times and shared by hundreds of thousands of Facebook users. But it was then revealed to be nothing more than a hoax. Everyone had a good chuckle about the incident and moved on, or so it was thought. It seems a lot of people missed the announcement that Weird Al was still very much alive and in good health, and have only recently learned that he never passed away at all. This has not only taken them by surprise, but it also resulted in some conspiracy theorists claiming that something sinister is going on. It's been suggested that Weird Al really did pass away on that day, but that a plan was quickly hatched to reverse the news, since his records sold quickly and resulted in a lot of profit. Hence, they claim he was replaced by a look-alike, and the Facebook post was taken down. It's a very strange theory, but Weird Al isn't the only celebrity that's rumored to have been replaced after losing their lives. Paul McCartney is another singer who's said to have a doppelganger, as is Avril Lavigne. But the story gets even stranger. When the Facebook post was made, many people were taken aback, not by the fact that he'd passed away, but by the realization that he was still alive. Thousands of people have stated that they remember him passing away long before the Facebook post announcing his passing, and when it was retracted, they didn't know what to make of the fact that he was still alive. Others have reported a shared false memory that he's not only deceased, but that he had taken his own life sometime during the 1980s. And many conspiracy theorists refuse to admit that their memories are wrong. But more level-headed people have suggested that this misconception may have originated from the popular animated show called King of the Hill. In one episode, Hank Hill tells his son Bobby that Weird Al ended his own life when people stopped buying his record, and it's possible that viewers took this joke at face value.
Now, I remember that whole wave of Facebook posts where a lot of celebrities, that's why I don't too much get on to Facebook like that, man, because it's just done turned into, to me, I call it number one, like the obituary app, because a lot of people get on there and that's all you see is just this person died, this person that you knew died, this person died. So I don't be wanting that energy. But it was a wave where they were doing that to celebrities. And you just get on there and they be like, oh my gosh. And I don't know if it was the shock factor or what. And they be like, this person passed today. And all people would comment and be like, rest in peace, RIP and stuff like that. And then you have to go check with a more credible source or TMZ, somebody like that, to see if it was really true. And if you didn't see nothing from them, like, it started becoming a problem. But Weird Al, like, and where do we get the whole clone? This person is clone. Like, or better yet, why did they start making those type of accusations? We got to figure that out, because that's happening more and more lately. And I'm like, why are they doing this to people? What is there to gain for them doing that? You know, like, that's interesting to me. Because as soon as you mention that, maybe they're doing that as a way to get like their album sales or their streams up and different things like that, because that person will be trending for that day. So I'm pretty sure their music streams go up.
Number 7. The Wizard of Oz is an iconic movie that stood the test of time since its release in August of 1939. Many people cite the film as being a large part of their childhoods, and that they've watched it many times over the years, but they're shocked to find out that their memories of the movie aren't as accurate as they thought, and some blame it on the Mandela effect. There's more than one instance of the Mandela effect that's been attributed to the movie, with many fans misremembering seemingly famous lines, or forgetting what each of the characters carried with them as they made their way to the wizard. Landing in Oz after being swept up by a tornado, the main character Dorothy speaks to her dog, Toto, and says the words, "Toto, I've got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore." But thousands of people insist that she used to say, "Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore." It's an easy mistake to make, but nonetheless it's often cited as an example of the Mandela effect. But Dorothy isn't the only character that's caused a stir on forums regarding the Mandela effect phenomenon, as the Tin Man is now also being spoken about. He joins Dorothy on her quest to the wizard and hopes that he'll receive a heart, something he's been pining for all of his life. But some people have only recently noticed that he's wearing a metal shirt and tie, and they've never noticed this before. They attribute this to the Mandela effect and refuse to believe that he's always worn this outfit in the film. Furthermore, they now claim that he carries a wrench in his hand while he was in the haunted forest, and that this is also a new addition that never existed in the past. In an effort to explain this, some people suggest that the group was involved in a fight with the jitterbugs at some point, and that they were all armed, but that the scene was cut from the movie, leaving the Tin Man and the wrench completely out of context. But they've also spotted something that's now supposedly missing from the movie. They claim that the Tin Man used to have a hatch on his chest, where his heart is supposed to go. They've described it in detail, stating that it used to be positioned on the left side of his chest, and that the hatch used to have a knob so that it could be opened from the outside, but this simply isn't the case. Lastly, they've noticed a strange marking on his head between his eyes, and have suggested that this is a new addition that's supposed to represent his third eye. There is, of course, no mention of a third eye in the movie, but many fans are adamant that this marking was never there in the original release. The Wizard of Oz is sure to go down in history as one of the most misremembered films of all time. It spawned a lot of folklore over the decades, and continues to baffle some of its fans, who have false memories but prefer to blame the Mandela effect. Number 6. When it was first released, Braveheart, a film starring Mel Gibson as the protagonist, was seen as a historical epic that told the tale of William Wallace, a Scottish man, who led his fellow countrymen into a rebellion against the English forces that conquered Scotland. Many people praised it for its historical accuracy and emotionally loaded storyline, but they were shocked to learn that it was actually full of inaccuracies, and that even the way Wallace is dressed in the film is incorrect. First, the fact that Wallace is referred to as Braveheart is completely inaccurate. That nickname was given to King Robert the Bruce, and it's uncertain why the creators of the film decided to attribute it to Wallace instead. Then there's the suggestion that Wallace grew up poor on a farm in the Scottish Highlands. The reality is he's the son of a minor nobleman, and he actually grew up in the southwest of the country. It's understandable that he was portrayed this way in order to gain favor with the audience, but this leaves a lot to be desired as far as historical accuracy is concerned. One of the things that people think of when talking about Braveheart is the kilt that he wears, but this is also completely inaccurate. The events portrayed in the film take place in the 13th century, but kilts weren't worn in Scotland until 3 centuries later. Furthermore, English soldiers at the time would not have worn matching uniforms as portrayed in the movie. In the film, Wallace's wife is called Murran, but historical books tell us that her name was actually Marian. It's thought that her name was changed specifically for the film in order to avoid confusion with Robin Hood's maid, Marian. When it comes to the epic battle scenes, the movie doesn't fare much better. The Battle of Stirling Bridge was led by Andrew de Moray in real life, but in the film he doesn't even make an appearance on the battlefield. Furthermore, as the name suggests, much of the battle was fought on Stirling Bridge, but it's strangely absent in the film footage, much to the ire of historians and filmgoers who are aware of the actual history. It's believed that these inaccuracies stem from the source material used, such as a book written by a man called Blind Harry, entitled The Acts and Deeds of the Illustrious and Valiant Champion, Sir William Wallace, Knight of Elderslie. The book seems to mostly rely on folklore rather than historical facts, and hence has resulted in another Mandela effect mystery, as people recall being told how accurate it was, only to find out many of the events in the film never even happened.
Not ashamed to say it, never seen Braveheart before. Never seen it. And looking at it right now, it's just, I told y'all, those type of movies, man, I just never really been into. So that Mandela effect, really, I have no I have no opinion on that, because I don't know, man. So I'm gonna look at y'all's comments about Braveheart and see if that makes me want to go back and watch it. And I don't have a problem going back and watching older movies. Not at all.
Number 5. Napoleon Bonaparte is considered by many to be one of the greatest military leaders that's ever lived. Having grown up in a military school in France, he was well versed in all things military, and it's no surprise that he saw the amount of success that he did. But there are a few facts about Napoleon that most people get wrong. For a long time, people assumed that he was a short man, when in reality, he stood between 5'6" and 5'7" inches tall, well within the average height for males. It's believed that this myth about his height was intentionally spread by British propaganda, for example, the cartoonist James Gilray, who used to depict him as a short man, while another, Isaac Cruikshank, also often drew him as being much shorter than his wife and fellow soldiers, which simply wasn't the case. Some believe that he was responsible for the destruction of the Sphinx's nose. They claim that it was damaged by a cannonball that was fired by Napoleon's men, but the Sphinx lost its nose before Napoleon arrived in Egypt, as drawings from the 1730s showed the massive monument already damaged. Then there's the myth that he lost his life due to being poisoned by agents, who were worried that he may escape and begin another successful military campaign, but in reality he lost his life in St. Helena after briefly struggling with his health. Furthermore, many people were taught that Napoleon and Josephine had an enduring and passionate relationship that would be hard to rival, but this wasn't the case. Soon after the couple got married, Josephine started seeing other men, even writing to one that her life with Napoleon was in constant torment and that she needed her lover to rescue her. Napoleon also didn't cherish the relationship, as he also cheated on her and described her to his officers as decidedly old, stating that she often started crying when she had indigestion. Unsurprisingly, the couple eventually got divorced and went their separate ways. But there is one myth that has persisted over the years, and it's now spoken about in Mandela effect circles. We've all seen paintings and other depictions of Napoleon with one of his hands tucked in the front of his jacket, causing much speculation as to why. Some were taught that this was due to Napoleon being slowly poisoned, not by the British or someone close to him, but by the maps he was reading. For a long time, it was said that he used to lick his thumb while paging through the maps, which contained ink that had arsenic as one of its ingredients, but this is pure fallacy. Others were taught that one of his hands was missing, and this is where the Mandela effect makes an appearance. While we now know that he placed his right hand in his jacket front to look more stately, people are adamant that he was in fact missing a hand, and that this fact has conveniently been changed in history books. Why this would have been done remains unknown, since it would serve no effect on how history played out. But it's hard for some people to admit that they're wrong, or have been given the wrong information, and hence it's easier to blame the mistake on something like the Mandela effect.
But the thing is, even when you looked at the picture, it was still, you would see this part of the hand, but you also see the bulge from the fingers in the jacket. So I was like, huh? I've heard that one before, but I never really understood it because you could still always see. But I don't know.
Number 4. As Christmas nears every year, we're treated with the latest Christmas movies, many of which are intended for children and adults alike. One of the more successful of these films stars Jim Carrey, and it's now considered to be a good example of the Mandela effect. The main character of the film is a creature called the Grinch. It was created by the very famous author Dr. Seuss, and first appeared in 1955 in an illustrated poem called The Hubbub and the Grinch, which was published in Redbook magazine. A few years later, Dr. Seuss started working on another story containing the hairy green character, entitled How the Grinch Stole Christmas. He would later admit that the Grinch was inspired by his own grumpiness one Christmas, as his wife had fallen ill and he was no longer in the Christmas spirit. The story was an instant hit among children and adults alike, remaining popular all the way into the year 2000, when it was made into the famous movie that most of us have seen. But in recent times, many people have stated that they've been left confused by the film's title, since they feel it suddenly changed. They remember the title being The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, when it's actually How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Some people have tried to come up with a plausible explanation for this false memory, suggesting that they were likely children when they watched the movie for the first time, and would not have been too concerned about the exact title. They then heard the title being misquoted for many years, and only upon rewatching or researching it as adults did they realize they had the title wrong all these years. But there is another confusing aspect to this mystery. When the film was first released in the UK, it was simply titled The Grinch, but people there have the same false memory that it was called The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. The original UK title is very easy to remember, consisting of only 2 words, and yet many people are adamant that it wasn't always the case. Another plausible explanation for this discrepancy comes from the film itself. At one stage, Jim Carrey can be heard saying, "I'm the Grinch that stole Christmas, and I'm sorry." Since it's one of the more iconic lines in the movie, it could easily have been mistaken by people to have been the title, since the wording is somewhat similar. But people have stated that they even remember the original book having this erroneous title, and feel that only the Mandela effect could have changed it in modern times, as unlikely as it may seem.
Nah, bro, I'm going through my mental Rolodex, and I remember it being The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Even remember, like, those VHS cassettes used to come in like this case, and the case that was made for that movie was one of those, like, It was the different type of case, man, that they used. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing the Grinch who stole Christmas, bro. Nah, y'all can't take that one away from us. No, I'm not having it. No.
Number 3. The music industry is filled with what many people believe to be Mandela effect mysteries. Some remember singing the lyrics to a favorite song of theirs their entire lives, only to find out that they were wrong, and that the song actually has an entirely different meaning from the one they knew. Others find it unbelievable that their favorite album cover has somehow changed and are adamant that it's been altered by the Mandela effect, since they've looked at it hundreds or even thousands of times over the years. But it isn't just the music and lyrics that have left some people confused. Sometimes things are said to have changed in music videos, a good example of this being the video to Britney Spears' song Oops, I Did It Again. Thousands of people remember her wearing a headset with a microphone in the video, only to learn that this wasn't the case. They claim that this has been changed by the Mandela effect, since even Britney dolls were sold with the headset, but the false memory likely resulted from her live performances, during which she did indeed wear the headset. Another example comes in the form of the hugely popular Queen hit song We Are the Champions. Many people refused to accept that the song ended with the title, insisting that Freddie Mercury ended the song with Of the World. But this can again be explained by a live performance, where he did indeed end the anthem that way. In recent years, a slightly more obscure song has been named a candidate for the Mandela effect, not because of the changed lyrics, or a different album cover, or missing visuals, but because people have erroneously attributed it to the wrong artist. The song in question is the 1988 hit Don't Worry, Be Happy, which was written and performed by the American singer-songwriter Bobby McFerrin. The song was an instant hit when it was first released, and can be heard playing over the radio multiple times a day. It remains McFerrin's biggest hit, and is still often played on the radio. But many people who are familiar with the song have a rude awakening, as they've only recently found out who the artist is. According to several online Mandela Effect forums, thousands of people were under the impression that it was written and performed by the reggae legend Bob Marley, which is of course impossible, since Marley passed away 7 years before the song was released. But this hasn't stopped Mandela Effect believers from stating their belief that the original singer was indeed Bob Marley, and that we're all being deceived, since the artist responsible has changed somehow. In an effort to explain this false memory, some people suggested that they may be getting mixed up with one or more of Marley's songs, the best candidate being No Woman, No Cry and Three Little Birds, in which he sings Don't Worry About a Thing, Every Little Thing is Gonna Be Alright. It's also possible that since Marley is much better known than McFerrin, people simply assumed it was one of his songs, and only now discover the truth. The mystery has been exacerbated by YouTube videos of the song that have it falsely attributed to Marley, and the fact that the singers are named Bob and Bobby. Some people have even gone as far as to suggest that the music video has been changed and that it now depicts satanic imagery. Number 2. Rudolph is undoubtedly the most famous of all Santa's reindeer, mostly thanks to the song about his unique shiny nose. But as most of us are aware, he has 9 reindeer in all, each with its own unique name. If you were to ask someone to name all the reindeer, they might get most of the names correct, while possibly forgetting a few. But many of those who've learned all the names are now claiming that some of the names have been changed by the Mandela effect. They're quick to rattle off the names Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, and Rudolph, but are shocked to find out that at least 2 of those names are wrong, and are misremembered by millions of people around the world. The reality is that the reindeer names were first introduced in a poem by Clement Clark Moore, which was first published in New York's Troy Centennial newspaper on the 23rd of December, 1823. While most of us know the poem by the title The Night Before Christmas, it was originally called A Visit from St. Nicholas, which is of course another name for Santa Claus. The authorship of the poem is also in dispute, with some people claiming it was actually written by Henry Livingston Jr. As for the reindeers' names, Donner and Blitzen were originally Donder and Bliksem, which are Dutch words for lightning and thunder.
I don't like it. We're not finna do it. Nope, we don't accept it. Nope, we know Donner. We know Blitzen. We're not finna do Donder. No, we don't like it. We don't accept it. No, case closed, dismissed.
But thousands of people are claiming that this was never the case, and that the names have only been altered in recent times. The most reasonable explanation for this false memory is the names changed from the original Dutch over time to better suit the English language. But this isn't the only change that has been made, according to Mandela effect believers. They're surprised to learn that the original poem only contained 9 reindeer since Rudolph had not been invented yet. In fact, Moore would never have known about Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, since he was only mentioned as one of the reindeer more than a century later in 1939. They find this impossible to accept, since Rudolph is the best known of the group and uses his shiny nose to guide Santa's sled through the dark of night. But the fact is, this is a recent addition for modern audiences. This false memory is joined by another Mandela effect regarding the number of reindeer that Santa has. People are adamant that he only had 8, while others insist that he used to have 10 or even 12.
Now, I may accept a lot of things, but you're not finna mess up my childhood as far as the reindeer and Santa and the sleigh and the song that I probably sang at churches and at school events and stuff like that when you were little and you had the little class come together and sing the Christmas songs and carols. You're not stripping me of that one, no. You gotta stand for something, y'all. This is, no.
But are unable to remember the names of the other 3. Then there's the confusion over the genders of the reindeer. Many people assume that they must all be female since they don't have antlers. But it's been pointed out that real-life reindeer usually lose their antlers in the winter, and by Christmas they would have shed them completely. It's also noted that mention is made of one more reindeer at times. Olive isn't one of Santa's main reindeer, but it's often referred to as the other reindeer, and was first depicted in a children's book written by Vivian Walsh, which was released in 1997. She's then mentioned again in an animated comedy musical written by Steve Young, which was based on Walsh's book. Many people feel that Olive is female, but others think that she's male, and thankfully, she doesn't form part of this Mandela effect mystery. Number 1. If you went on a long bus or car journey when you were a child, or if you've done so with your own children, you'll no doubt be familiar with the many children's songs that are used to keep them occupied and keep boredom at bay. Most of these songs appear on albums containing compilations of children's songs, or are taught to them at school, though in modern times they're likely just to learn them from television shows or internet platforms such as YouTube Kids. But not all children's songs are meant to be entertaining, as far as their parents are concerned. One song in particular, entitled "The Song That Doesn't End," can be especially irritating for that very reason. It never ends.
Yeah. That one kind of try to make you want to drive the car off of a bridge. It just makes, after a while, it just irritates you to the point where you just like, you know what? And yeah.
The song first made its appearance on a show called Lamb Chop's Play Along, which aired on PBS from 1992 to 95. The show featured a puppeteer called Sherry Lewis, and included the characters Lamb Chop, Charlie Horse, and Hush Puppy. At the end of each episode, one of the puppets, usually Charlie Horse, would start singing this particular song, much to the irritation of the puppeteer. But many internet users feel that the song has now been changed, since they remember the song being titled "The Song That Never Ends," rather than "The Song That Doesn't End." One such person stated that she remembers the song well, and used to sing it all the time when she was a child. As a result, she suddenly remembered it one day and started singing it while walking around her house. Her nephew noticed and asked what the song was, much to her disbelief. She then opened her YouTube app to play it and was shocked to realize that she'd been singing it wrong her whole life. The actual lyrics to the song are, "This is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend." Some people started it not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever just because. The song then starts over and repeats indefinitely, or until the singer's told to keep quiet. Realizing that she has a faulty memory, she then visited Wikipedia but found no help. She stated that both versions are mentioned on the site, and next she decided to check what was being said on Reddit. Here she learned that it was the subject of the Mandela effect, and many people from all over the world remember the lyrics the same way that she does, while others may.
This is the song that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend. Some people started singing. Like, this one is hard. This one is very hard because you can say this is the song that doesn't end or never ends, and then both of them fits perfectly. I remember the song very vividly. I remember the song. I wanted to say never ends. Yeah, never ends, bro. Yeah.
Maintain that it's always been the song that doesn't end. Upon doing some further reading, she realized that the latter is indeed the correct way of singing it, but she was at a loss as to how she could have had a false memory for such a large portion of her life. While long discussions were being held over the fact that the lyrics have been changed, others felt that this isn't a true example of the Mandela effect, since the titles are so similar and could easily be confused, especially since the wrong version seems to fit the song's tune better. A video on YouTube that has over 1.8 million views has the song titled "The Song That Never Ends," despite the fact that the correct lyrics are sung in the video. This has only caused even further confusion, but it's clear that this is merely a case of false memory, though many people are unyielding in their belief that something untoward is going on, and that their childhood memories are being altered for the worse. Thank you guys so much for watching.